Welcome to Canvas Projects, a virtual program offering from the Pflugerville Public Library. I'm Meg Miller, an Adult Services Librarian, here with another fun project geared to ages 12 and up for you to complete. Those who registered through the library calendar can pick up their material supply kits, and for everyone else watching, we hope you give these techniques a try. This month's project is a kind of bubble canvas. Let's start with a look at the supplies being provided. So our canvases are rather large this month, so the manila envelopes are pretty big. We've got them folded over. It is an 11 by 17 canvas. You've got your 6 strip of paints in the paint pots, a brush. It is a flat brush. I believe this is about the 1-inch brush with a thinner handle, and then a little squeeze bottle of some Mod Podge. Now, this Mod Podge is very more liquidy than you may kind of think of when you think of the Mod Podge. It is actually the crystal clear Mod Podge there. So it was a little bit thinner of a viscosity for that. For our paints, we're still in those pastels for this summer. So it's a rainbow, so you can mix together. We've got the pastel coral pink, the pastel orange, a pastel yellow, pastel spring green, so a little out of season, but we like the color, pastel sky blue, and pastel violet. So that's our colors for today. Your 11 by 14 canvas here is pre-taped. I did tape these by eye, so if you measure the squares, they're probably not perfect in any way, shape, or form. It is just the Scotch Blue Pro Sharp line. So if you wanted to pull it off, paint something different, and not stick with the squares that we've kind of gridded out, you're welcome to do that. You just flip it over and just kind of gently peel at the tape. The backing of most of the canvases is pretty papery. So if I pull too quickly, some of that paper may come off on the tape, but it's painter's tape. So it should want to pull away fairly easily. It's probably not that easy to see, but there's a little bit of the white gesso from the canvas that comes off when I remove the tape as well. Additional to what's in the kit to help you complete this project, if you're only having the one brush, you're likely going to want a little bit of water here to help clean the brush in between. Some paper towels will assist you with that. Let's set our Podge over to the side. If you've done our canvas projects before or have some other paintbrushes around, you may want to grab an extra supply of paintbrushes so that you can go between your colors fairly easily. The small flat brush is one that we've given out with a number of kits, so you probably have a few of those laying around. It will take a little longer to coat your squares, but you may have some of the 1/2-inch brushes we've used before, or I've got a couple extra pre-used of the 1-inch brushes around, which I think we have sent home with kits before. So I've got a full set of brushes here, and I'm just going to go from one color to the next. Just opening my paint pots so that I can access my colors, especially since I'm doing the number of brushes with the different colors that I have. We can come down into the shot a little bit more so to have some room for paint there. I'm going to start with one of the big brushes. So these are fairly small paint pots because you won't need a ton. So getting in there for the paint's going to be a little bit kind of not the easiest thing in the world to do, maybe. So if you've got a craft stick around or something that you want to take that paint out of the little pot and put it into another, if you've got a paint palette or even a paper plate you can use to kind of give that a little bit more area for your paintbrush to get at that paint. So in doing these squares, I'm just doing kind of a light one coat there. You have 9 squares. So you will be able to cover 2 different squares with those colors. And I'm going to do just this one here. And I want to try a little something because while in my examples, and if you saw the marketing for this program, you would have seen just single color too. I kind of did a color block scenario. But for this video, I want to try a little something extra. So I'm just going to come here with this purple, this pastel violet painting, getting pretty good coverage. I'm coming both horizontally and vertically with my paintbrush so that I'm making sure I'm getting into those little corners where the tape is. Not like really diving in, but just from the different directions, I'll make sure that I get good paint coverage. Okay, now I want to grab some of this paint. I want to try a little something kind of maybe ombre here. I'm going to bring my purple down on the bottom, just a little bit more. With something like this, then my paintbrush is ultimately going to have both those colors on it. And so I wouldn't necessarily go right back into one of the paint colors so that I didn't kind of get other paints in my little paint pots. But just giving, and since it's pastel, it's a very light ombre effect. I've got a little bit of pink left on this brush here. I can come back through. Oh yeah, that does look really cool. So I would continue with that, doing my different colors. Let's do a blue up here. And I'm going to do another ombre in this middle one. So just get that first coat of coverage on for one full square. Come back and do, ooh, I think I'm going to alternate. So with this one, I'm going to put my top color on the bottom, about halfway. Set that aside. Let's try with one of the tiny brushes, and then I'm going to go with my green down here in this square. So as you can see, this brush is much smaller. So I am covering a smaller area with it. So it's going to take me a little bit more to really fill that in. And if I only have the one brush and I'm using the water in between, that does add a little bit of the water, you know, it's in your the bristles of your brush to that paint when you start painting that next layer. That may provide an effect that really you like and you're looking for, so you may just choose to go that direction. All right, now well, that was a little light on the corner. These are pastel colors, so it may be with that first coat, you're going to still see some of the white of the canvas underneath. And you may want to do a second coat. With the ombre, that may be a little bit more difficult, but with the solid color squares, you're definitely able to do that. All right, let's start this ombre going down. Put that green in there, that green and blue. Right, and then come back with more of my blue here. And I'm just pulling back and forth because I've decided my ombre is kind of going in that direction. Excellent. I might need a little more blue there. That green read through very well, but is thin enough up here that I feel like I need a couple more coats. So I would continue with that. And as with several of our projects, it will be best if you go ahead and let this dry, set it aside. Honestly, the paint dries fairly quickly. So it's not going to be, you know, but an hour or two and you come back and that paint will be dry to the touch and you'll be able to move on to your next step. For that next step, I have a canvas already prepared. I'm going to set my wet paint aside. So I have done 2 test circles here with the crystal clear Mod Podge. The original design had a gloss Mod Podge. So if you are just doing this on with your own supplies and you don't have the crystal clear, but you have some of the regular Mod Podge, either gloss, matte, any of the types, was what this was made with. So I really feel like that thicker Mod Podge settled very nicely. Like while there are a few little air bubbles in those, maybe a little tough to see on camera, right there's just one. I didn't mind that. I could have come through and kind of tried to pop those while the Podge was wet, as I had just laid it down. But I like that little added to it. And kind of the same for this crystal clear. Because I did a little bit thicker pools for this first one, as it got that skin over top where that first layer was solidifying, I got kind of a little cracks in the middle, which looks really kind of cool with this. However, I kind of think if I had done thinner pools, so not as thick of a Podge layer there, it would probably have dried completely solid the way the other type did. So we've got just the little lid on here. You'll take that off. We did put these in little square snack bags, so hopefully if there was any leakage, it wouldn't have gone on to the rest of the supplies. So with this, I'm not even going to squeeze very much. I'm going to start kind of right in the middle of a circle and then start bringing around as that Podge comes out. I've got a couple of bubbles in there. Not too worried about that. I can also stop squeezing and kind of use that nozzle to try and pop those bubbles. That first one popped. This one just doesn't want to pop. See if I can move them to the edge. Now, my circles are not perfect. I'm obviously doing this kind of by hand, just by eyeball. I am starting in a center place, and kind of that drop of Podge being my start to it. And then I can build out my circles from there. Again, we've got our little bubbles in there. I can use the nozzle to try and break those down. I can also get toothpick, something small that I can do that with. I would not recommend, if you are familiar and do resin projects and have maybe used a torch or heat to pop bubbles, I would not recommend that on this canvas with paint on it. You would really just want to use a manual method to try to pop those bubbles, or go very slow. So maybe if I squeeze that air out first before I get the Podge down there to the canvas, that'll give me a fewer bubbles. And then again, just using the nozzle of the bottle to spread that Podge around and get my circles. Now I kind of approach this as the play of the square to the circle for that. And I did like that look. But honestly, this is your Podge. This is your project. If you feel like there's a cooler way to do this, I've left this masking tape on now, so I could really cover an entire square. Again, I want to make sure that I've got a very thin layer of that Podge on there, and then that would give me that kind of clear shine to the top of it. I could also try with an extra brush, excuse me, painting it on and get an even thinner layer. Because if I poured on this much to every single one of those squares, I would run out of Podge in these little bottles. You have just under, I'd say just under 2 ounces in them. They are 2-ounce bottles, so they're about 2/3 full. More than that, and you really wouldn't have needed it for this particular project. All right. And then once this, again, I would suggest, especially if you're filling your whole squares, allow this to dry. The Podge is going to take longer to dry. These two are from yesterday afternoon, and they are now dry this morning, so we're looking at least 12 hours. For your canvases, the 3 kind of short tapes should be the last ones put on. So they'll want to be the first ones you take off. So we've got one here. And I just pull that away. Oh, it's so satisfying to see those edges under the tape. Oh, that one I had a little smear peek through, but not too bad. And then just gently removing. See there, I got some of that paper from the back of the canvas, but it's the back of the canvas. That should be fine. So then there's one here and one down here. Then your long middle ones are the next tape that went down. Those will be the next tape you remove, and then your edges. That way you have, and I don't even want to remove that one because that is completely covered in Mod Podge. So I'm going to just let that one kind of settle. And that looks really cool. As always, thank you for watching. We would love to see your completed projects, whether you do it our square and circle way, or whether you kind of go off grid, as it were, and do something really fun. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.